Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. Today is the 8th of May, 2024. I am your host, Gianni DePoce, and I'm joined this week by our very special friend and colleague at MMA Cycles, Ulric Aspegrén. Ulric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Johnny. Great to be
Good.
back.
Good. I'm glad to have you back. And there's a lot to talk about, both in the currency market, seeing some big moves happen there, and of course, in the geocosmics. And I must say, the timing of this meeting we're having here is excellent with all these planets going into Taurus, which rules currencies. So let's get right into it. I'll go ahead and share a chart of the Dow here. So the Dow coming off of a low that was completed one day before the Jupiter, well, actually the Dow cash was a couple days before the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. So a lot of Taurian energy right now. We're in Taurus season. We basically have a stellium of planets in Taurus. So what's your take on the stock market now? Can we hit a new all-time high, or are we just walking over a cliff right now?
Well, the big elephant in the room is, of course, Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus that took place last month. And we've been seeing this, exponential growth coming through that we've been forecasting. And it looks very much that it's going to keep going because we have a couple of aspects with Jupiter coming up. We have Jupiter sextile Neptune on May 23rd. And Jupiter trine Pluto on June 3rd. And those should keep the trend, the growth, keep it going. And the question is always like, well, how long will it keep going? And I would say the first real big stop is happening in August. We have a Jupiter square Saturn that's happening on August 19th. And it's always interesting to know, well, is it going to be a hard landing and so on? And I think it will be a showstopper already by then, because Mars is going to square Saturn 3 days before on August 16th. So it's really like, the wheels could come off, or at least Saturn we're going to stick in some sticks in the growth wheels of Jupiter. And so until then, I would say we should keep rising, say into July. The only say issue that we could get is that actually Jupiter is entering Gemini, which is good for you, right? I mean, you're a Gemini on May 26th, and it will make a square already to Saturn by sign. So you could already see that things are getting, more difficult, a little bit more struggle by then going in. But overall, I would say that June looks good, and it could keep going into July. And
Well, it's interesting what you mentioned, Ulrich, when it comes to Jupiter and Gemini. There's so much emphasis now on what the central bankers are saying, and it seems like every time Mercury goes retrograde, they're changing their rhetoric, and I think it's going to get even more dramatic. Jupiter and Gemini, that can be dramatic, scattered communication. Square
correct.
Saturn in Pisces, I think there's going to be a lot of ambiguity with respect to communication surrounding inflation and monetary policy, and it could confuse markets, to your point, up to a certain level where, yeah, we could see some volatility begin in the summer.
Yeah.
So
The
I do
volatility
generally,
is probably the right word you mentioned. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's very stable. Jupiter in Taurus is a very stable, things are not moving very quickly. Things are just, proceeding. And then suddenly we're like, whoa, what's going
Yeah.
on? So new type of information. And yeah, that could create some volatility. But it could, still the market could keep go up, but we might see, the
Yeah,
market might
price
not be
swings.
fully sure where we're heading.
Yeah. Well, I think from a technical standpoint and a cyclical standpoint, as long as we're above that low from April 17th, you have to give, some benefit of the doubt on the long side of the market. But we have to be careful here, because if we make a lower high, that could be the first step in the establishment of a downtrend. Ulrich,
Yeah.
I know you want to talk about the FTSE. I actually have to jump over to TradingView because Stock Charts does not have the FTSE there. So This
I think
index,
it's interesting to talk sometimes about the European markets.
yeah,
And if we look at the UK market, I think if you look at the Geocosmics, what I just mentioned, if you look at the FTSE, it's about 4 years into what I see into its greater 18-year cycle that started in 2020. And we got a 3-year low it was in October 2022. So this 3-year that we're in now, we're about a year into it, a year and a half, sorry. This is dividing into what I see 3 1-year cycles, or I call them the 55-week cycles. And we got a low in August 2023. That was the first 55-week low. So now we're 9 months into the second 55-week, which is, the 1-year cycle. And it should peak out at the latest by July. So that's why my thinking is there's a potential to keep going in this growth in the FTSE into July. And I have some numbers, 83.80 to 96.72 pounds. It's pretty wide, but that's what I have for the 55-week. But then it's important that once we peak and we're in July and we're starting to feel this August energy, then we'll come down and make a low into August. I would think that's what I'm seeing, and from there on we should not be able to take over the all-time high. We will make maybe a rally for a couple of months or quite longer, but we will not take over that previous crest that was made in the second 1-year cycle because of this Jupiter square Saturn. So basically the second half of the year will be more of a struggle, maybe more consolidation. Yeah.
I'm most interested with your 18-year cycle low labeling in 2020 for the FTSE, because I share that same opinion for the Swiss market, the Zurich FTI, the SMI, excuse me, the Zurich SMI.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of European markets did complete their 18-year lows in 2020, which is interesting because I don't think that US markets did. I think US markets are in an older 18-year cycle going back to 2009. So that's going to be a really interesting cyclical arbitrage to play out over the next several years and really the rest of this decade, I think. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the euro.
Yeah.
I know that's your specialty. So let's look at the euro.
All right.
What do you see here? We're selling off a little bit. I've been talking about this this potential head and shoulders formation here. You got the head, you got the shoulder, the head, and then the right shoulder there.
Yeah.
Coming back up to retest that neckline. I'd like to see a retest of these lows from October. So what are you thinking on the euro here, Ulrich?
Well, I like to give first the bigger picture because I think it's important in order to answer your question. And the euro has a 16-year cycle, which divides into 2, let's say, call it 8-year cycles. And we got a start of the current 16-year cycle in January 2017. And we are in the 7th year of this cycle. Yeah. So an 8-year cycle is due. And this 8-year cycle divides, as if the chart labeling is correct, is by 3 32-month cycles or 3-year cycles. But it's the 32-month cycles. And we're 19 months into the last 32-month cycle, meaning that if we're going down to an 8-year cycle, this will be the moment with this 32 to also head down into this low. And the 32 months divides into 2 15-month cycles. And we got the first 15 months after 12 months in October 2023. So that's the start there. So so now we're 7 months into it, and a primary cycle in the euro is 33 weeks on plus or minus 8 weeks, but 33 weeks is about 7.6 months. So a primary cycle low is very much due, and now today we're 31 weeks into this primary that started on October 2023 at 1.04 US dollar. And a primary cycle is due by June 25th. When I overlap with the sub-cycles, it's July 13th, I think, but when you can narrow it down to June 25. So now we're coming to your question. What I see will happen? Well, we have two alternatives. Either we got a low on April 16th, right there, which was the low, and that would be bullish. Then the market should rise for at least 5 weeks. It could go all the way to 12 weeks, but I think it will be shorter since we are supposed now to start heading down to the 8-year low. And the rise should be 2.5 to about 7%, and you should overlap with the 38 to 62% retracement. So you can get a more narrowed down price target. And if you have the low on this April 16th, then we have a primary cycle top that should be in May 18th to July 11th.
Okay.
And the target is 108.72 to 109.33. So that will be if this, and I would say that if the market keeps rising now and takes over that your resistance line again, then I think that primary cycle low was in April 16th. Yeah. But you should remember, it was Mercury retrograde at that time. So yeah, my preferred view has been, as you mentioned, that we should head lower. If we do that, there is a target I have of this head and shoulder target. It's 1.02 to $1.04. So that will be my preferred target. And once that's in, before June 25th, then we should then do that rally, that 5 to 12 weeks with a 2.5 to 7% rise. So that will be my preferred take on the euro. I can see also that the 8-year, there is a possibility, but it's very low probability wise that it already happened with the September 22 low there. Yeah, but
you think that this could have been an 8-year low in October of 2023?
Yeah, but it's the shortest ever 8-year. But this cycle in the euro is an outlier because previous 2 cycles always had a top in the middle and then came down, like a pyramid more. But this one had its top after 1 year in 2018. So it is a bit of an odd one, and you need, but I don't see it right now. It's too much of a distortion.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about crude oil, because I know you wanted to discuss that as well. Really important market with respect to inflation expectations. So personally, Ulric, I'm looking for a primary cycle low to be completed. Maybe it even happened yesterday. From a cyclical standpoint, it checks out. I wouldn't mind to see perhaps a little bit lower prices from a technical standpoint, but at this point in the cycle, I think that time is going to win out over price. So what's your take on crude oil? And you mentioned earlier that the Jupiter sextile Neptune coming up, in theory, that should be good for crude oil, I think. So what are you looking at in this market?
Yeah, well, first of all, Jupiter sextile Neptune is a bit tricky because if the market is going down, it could be the exact opposite. Sure. So it could be like that there's too much oil. It's always difficult to know, is it the prices or is it the commodity that's happening? But just the bigger picture, we are about 4 years into this greater cycle that started in April 2020. And we have now started the last intermediate term cycle. It's a 15-month cycle, and we're about 12 months into it. So 12 months in the 15-month cycle, we're looking for this intermediate term cycle low. And so my preferred view is that we're heading down into this 4-year cycle and should be in by November 2024. And I have a price target of it should go below the May, the 50-month cycle started in May 2023 at $63.64. It should go below that for the 4-year cycle. And it could just go low. I have like $50. So remember, it was below zero when it started. So it's not it looks strange, but that's what the data is telling me. The alternative view, so you're right, with this primary cycle, there's a primary cycle due very soon. And therefore, after this low is in within a week, it could have been in already, but let's give it a week. It should rally for 2 to 7 weeks. And I would use the 38 to 62% retracement to set that up. What would be the target from the previous primary cycle top, which was in April 12th at 87.67.
Yeah.
There, yeah. The alternative is that we are in a new that low, the 50 months low in what was it now? It was it September, October? When was it?
This one's December 23.
No, the previous low. Where was it?
Oh,
May. In May 2023, right?
Yeah.
That low, if that was the 4-year low, it will be a distorted low. And but then we should get bullish prices, meaning we should not take out that low of $63. So if we don't take it out, it could have been a distorted 4-year low. But for now, I'm looking for lower prices. That is, as I mentioned, to come down to the 4-year low. And after that, we should have a very bullish, first time, the first sub cycle in the oil. So that should be interesting to trade.
All right, let's wrap up this video with analysis of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, what do you see here? There's a couple different cycle scenarios. I think this is a really important market to gauge risk appetite for the overall, stocks, bonds, all that. It's been a really nice leading indicator in my view. You have the stellium and Taurus that we have. Moon conjunct Uranus today, something you mentioned as well. Within an orb, obviously, but starting next week, you're even going to have Mercury in Taurus. So you're going to have a lot of planets in Taurus. One of the studies I did, Ulric, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but whenever Venus is in Taurus, there's a significantly higher probability of a 20% or greater move to take place in Bitcoin. And that has not happened yet. So I don't know if that's going to be to the upside or to the downside. If it's to the upside, we should see a rally at least to 68,000. But if it's to the downside, we're going to take out that low from May 1st. So what do you see in Bitcoin now? And can we make a new all-time high, or are we going to roll over?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually, because that low that you mentioned there, I mean, I'm looking for an intermediate term cycle low here as well. It hasn't come down to what it should do. It's too shallow of a correction. You're talking about May 1st at around $56,500 there.
Yeah.
It's time-wise okay, but it only came down a drop of 23.5%, and that is not enough, in my opinion. So I'm leaning towards a stronger drop. It should be in the latest by June 9th. And, I use about 70 to 80% of the cases. The price target using that should be around 38 to 45,000. Wow. So that's quite a drop. Yeah, that's, so let's see. The Bitcoin is a wild animal.
Emotional asset class.
Yeah, I just think once it's coming down, it makes bigger moves.
Yeah.
But let's see. You could be also. I have not done that study, so it could be also that the Mercury, when it changes signs, it does.
No, Venus. When Venus goes into Taurus, 20% or greater moves. So it's interesting because then you also see that in
It's only
Ethereum
20.
when Venus is in Libra.
Okay, but it's only 20% of the cases, correct?
No, it's in all the cases that you see a 20% or greater move.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Well, that seems pretty definite.
yeah, it's a nice study.
Let's see.
All right,
Yeah.
Ulric. Well, we are out of time, so let's wrap up this video with a couple of announcements. First things first, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to our channel. We do weekly updates. We bring in guests, fellow market analysts, and financial astrologers. Ulric will be a featured speaker in 2 upcoming MMA events. He will be part of the MMA mid-year webinar on the 18th of May. That's where we are going to have an update on markets across the entire financial landscape. You can find out details about that at www.mmacycles.com. This upcoming week, we also have the monthly cycles report. Well, actually, it's going to be released on next Monday. Monthly cycles report. Ulric analyzes the euro in that publication as well. But what I'm most excited about, because even though I've known Ulric for several years, I've actually never met him in person. So in September, as we've been talking about, from September 19th to the 22nd, we're going to have an investment retreat in Lake Bled in Slovenia, and Ulric will be a featured speaker there as well. So really hope that you, the viewer, can make it to that. It's going to be an extraordinary event. And Ulric, I'm really looking forward to finally meeting you. Do you have any other final words, announcements, and where can viewers find more of your work?
Yes, I work as a financial consultant here in Switzerland. They can reach me at contact@Aspegrén-analysis.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Ulric, and we will see you next time, and I'll see you in September.
Excellent. See you, Johnny. All the best. Ciao.